the central core for this book, at least for me, the core disruptive idea is that working harder is actually the problem for women. It's not the solution. So I thought we might start there. Talk to us a little bit about why working harder is not always better.
Yeah, well, sometimes we do need to work harder. Sometimes we need to put a little energy into something that we've neglected or we've set aside. But oftentimes, it's actually overworking something, putting too much effort, over-efforting that sends us off track. And we have this tendency, I think, especially as women, because we're so used to working hard. We're so used to raising families and building businesses and working hard in all the different domains that we're juggling, that we think that that's going to be the solution. But it's actually about, I mean, we've heard this line, working smarter, not harder, but I would say working wiser, not harder. It's not just even smarts, it's wisdom, which I believe grows with us, can grow with us as we age. And as we age, we need more and more and more wisdom to be able to navigate some of the transitions that we're going through, but also to be more effective in the many domains of our life.
Yeah, I think for many women, myself included, I'm still in the process of unlearning this, is this idea that to use your words, overworking and over efforting becomes really intangibly associated with your worth. Like if you are not someone who was able to punch out 10 things on your to-do list and keep all the balls in the air at all times in heels and lipstick and totally, and in a good mood and ready for anything, then in some way you've failed. Being a mother, being a wife, being, someone who's producing meaningful work. So what are some of the ways that we can begin to unravel that, examine where these belief structures come from, and how we can really tap in? And I want to talk a little bit about our genius and our genius energy.
Yeah, well, where these belief structures come from is sort of a very big, at the big societal level, and then all the way down to like grade school level, right? We got trained up around good girls and good jobs and gold stars, and it feels good to get praise. And so that can really shape our energy and shape our efforts, even if we're getting praised for things we don't really care about, and then we can get really good at certain things. And then we have this about face where we look at our lives and we're like, wow, I've climbed this ladder, I've gotten to this point, but maybe I don't really feel satisfied or fulfilled or actually doing all those things. It kind of scratches the surface. It doesn't actually water me at a deep level. And I remember, gosh, when I had young kids, I used to do these crazy birthday parties. Like I was the mom that made the
Pinterest,
the ridiculous themed out birthday party. And I'd work so hard. I'd be so stressed out. The kid would come in the kitchen. I'd be like yelling at the kids because I was working on their birthday party, And I remember at one point my mother-in-law came, as mother-in-laws can do this so well, came in to my birthday party and said, "Do you think that the moms who come to your party like you a little more or like you a little less when you put on birthday parties like this?" And I was like, oh, actually, they like me a little less. We also, this over-efforting and this working hard, maybe it also doesn't get us the connection that we're craving as women. And the perfectionism doesn't get us the relatability as women. So genius energy is something that I have been exploring on a personal level and from a psychological angle. I'm a psychologist. And the way that I'm defining our genius energy is our talents, our strengths, our emotional intelligence, our interests, the things that come easily to us that may not come easily to others. And it's not good or bad. It's just sort of like, I mean, Stephanie, you have such, I know just very little about you, but you have genius energy around just like sort of like a coolness factor. Like I imagine, you being in high school or college, you just kind of have like a calm confidence to you, right? And it's just sort of part of your nature in your presence. I feel it. Now, what can happen, though, is we have this genius energy about us, our talents, strengths, aptitudes, interests, and we can overuse it. It can become our problem when it becomes the thing. So I actually have some genius energy around throwing birthday parties. I'm actually pretty good at themed out things, right? But when it becomes like rigid and restricted and I'm using it to get people to like me and I'm over-efforting on it, it then pulls me off course. And your genius can become your very problem. You see this in people that are like great, they're really great helpers, but then they turn into martyrs, or people that are really funny and they turn everything into a joke, including themselves. You know, they throw themselves under a bus in a joke.
Right.
So that's where the over-efforting on over-indexing, and how can we direct our genius in a wiser way and towards our values.
It's almost like what your strengths are can be, there's like a light side and a dark side to it, right? It's like there's this light and shadow side to it. So like a perfectionist, which I know many of the Bettys who are listening may identify as type A overachievers, that can keep you very rigid, right? So that cognitive flexibility, or that flexibility to, if something unexpected happens, if you are a perfectionist and you've already laid out, you've already gone through the algorithm and you're like, no, this is how things are going to go in the life, in the birthday party, in the whatever, and there's something that changes in that, I think that that might be an example of a shadow side or a dark side of that talent or strength. I was always told I talk too much, by the way. So that was always like on my report cards. It's like, Stephanie's always talking too much. She's not living up to her potential. It's like,
right, now look at you.
And now I'm a podcast host.
Right. Right. And this is where I think everyone can fill in the blank of you're too much of this, you're too this, don't be so loud, don't be so Mine was I'm too sensitive. I'm too emotionally sensitive. I'm picking up on everyone's energy. Well, guess what? I'm a therapist. So it kind of helps to have an emotionally sensitive therapist, right? You wouldn't want a cold, distant, aloof therapist. So those very qualities, the things that make you, you, and that are unique to you, everyone has their own design. We all have our own design. The question then becomes, how do I take my own unique design and channel it in a way that's aligned with my values so that it becomes my offering in the world, as opposed to something that's too much, or something that the other side of that is people play small. They go underground with it. They don't show their genius, right? Because they've been told, you talk too much. So then you kind of pull back. I'm not going to say anything because I've been told that I talk too much.
So how do we figure out what our gene is? We sort of look for historical clues like, oh, you're doing this too much, you're doing that too much. What are some of the ways that we can get closer to really understanding our unique strengths and gifts?
Well, there's psychological sort of tests that you can take around this. So you could take tests like there's something like a personality test to look at your extroversion, introversion, things like that. You could take the VIA, which is that VIA.org, which is a character strengths test to learn what some of your character strengths are. But one way that I like to go about it is, first I like to think about other people in my life. Do I know what their genius is? Can I spot their genius? Like, do I know what my husband's genius is? Yeah, totally. It's the very things that irritate me, but also the reasons why I married him, right? He's incredibly patient. And he was a math teacher. Of course, he's like, that shows up in his patience, right? And sometimes he's too patient. Like, he needs to like step it up and get angry about something. I'm like, you're too, I need more chi in you. You got like so much of a patient vibe. So you can see it in other people. You can spot other people's geniuses. And then ask your friends and family, like, what do you notice about me that makes me me? Or maybe even think about yourself as a kid. What were some things that stood out for you that you kind of remember about being a kid, you in third grade, your 8-year-old self? And yes, we evolve and change over time, but some of those essence, some of that sort of temperament and qualities about who we are still with us today, and may need to be expressed or honored or appreciated and kind of brought to life again. There's a parallel, I think, between adolescence and our perimenopause and menopause years. There's a emotionality, there's a transition, there's a wanting to figure out who you are. Like some of those things that happen during adolescence, I feel like happen again as we go through these years. And part of that is figuring out what makes me me. It's a question you asked yourself when you were 13, and maybe you're asking yourself that again at 43, right?
Yeah,
what makes me me? And how do I live to the fullest expression of me and give the biggest offering possible of me, which is unique and different?
I love that. I just saw a meme the other day. I don't know how this is going to land, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's like, perimenopause should be rebranded like cougar puberty, which I thought was so great. It's like, it's puberty, but for cougars. I was like, oh, I love that. So does our core traits, our geniuses, do they evolve as we evolve? Like as we're going through that perimenopausal transition, maybe it's an opportunity. I like to say it's an opportunity to come home to yourself, to really understand who you are. You've maybe for many years been putting yourself on the back burner for various reasons, child rearing, marriage, career. And as your children are maybe growing up and out of the home and there's a little bit more capacity, you can really get closer to the things that you want to be doing that maybe you didn't have the time, energy, focus, or money to do in your earlier years. So does your genius, do those traits, I know you said that that essence is sort of consistent over the lifespan, but have you noticed even with clients or maybe even with yourself, things that maybe have come up that percolated that are new, that are maybe new traits that are coming out as you're maybe getting closer to your essence?
Sure. I think all of our life experiences change us, our relationships change us, the traumas that we go through. Every single one of those experiences is shaping us, right? So as we move into perimenopause and menopause, these years, when we look at sort of developmental psychology models, in these later years, we're starting to move into, for example, with Erik Erikson, his model, he talks about in the 40s, we're either moving into generativity or stagnation. So sometimes we could be really stuck. You see, actually, these are the years when a lot of times when people leave their marriages or they change careers or they do something just like, okay, I'm going to go travel somewhere unusual. And part of that is because you want to get unstuck. You want to have this generativity. You want to have this growth that can happen during these years. And that is where our genius can come back to life and can shift and shape shift. And you can learn new things about yourself. Physically, we learn new things about ourselves because there's also, I think, a shift that happens, especially with something like exercise. The other book was about exercise and movement, where all of a sudden exercise and movement isn't just about trying to shape your body to look like something in a bathing suit anymore. Because you see, wait, my body isn't going to look in a bathing suit like it used to look when it's 20. And there's actually so much more to this body than that. Like, I want to feel vitality. I want to have energy. I want to be able to dance. I want to be able to move. I want to be able to climb a mountain. I want to be able to whatever it is, that our relationship with our body and the genius of our body changes. And how we feed our bodies and move our bodies and rest our bodies also changes because our bodies need different things. So yes, there is a shift that happens. I think the shift is moving more towards openness, expansiveness, flexibility, if we're moving in the right direction, and generativity, as opposed to maybe in our 20s and 30s, which is like get on the path and try and get somewhere. I'm establishing my career and my family and my house and all those things that we're trying to nail down. And I think in our menopausal and perimenopausal years, it's more about opening up.